For as busy as I am, I seem to still be able to make a second video, right? So, since I spoke to you last, I cleaned the ashes out of my wood stove, started another fire, moved all those fence panels, and what I ended up doing is rolling them end over end and lifting with this hand. This arm got quite a workout today, but they're in a nice, neat little pile over there. I had to move, if we end up getting a lot of snow, I knew I would have to move my rolled up chain link fence. So that is over there with the lumber pile and all of that, out of the way of the plow. So while I was moving the fence, hi. So while I was moving the fence, these two spruce that I'm under, the leaves were bent down, and I got tired of when it snowed or when it rained or when we got some ice, they would bow way down and I'd either have to walk around them or under them. So I got tired of those and I just trimmed them off. So there's none that's going to get in my way. So what I did with the boughs is I put a pile, I spread them out a little bit in a pile for the ducks and some for the geese, and they're really enjoying them. They're nibbling on them, they're laying on them. It just adds greenery to the pen. It's one big run. You can walk in between. That walkway is always open, so the geese go back and forth. But the geese normally like to be over here next to the woodshed, and the ducks over next to the coop. So I read down through the comments. I am unable to I'm unable to comment. That's just the way it is, folks. Not that I didn't try, so I'm going to, like I did another video, I'm going to, off the top of my head, remember some of the comments that had questions to them. So one of you asked if I had elderberry here. I've got thousands of wild elderberry here. They're black elderberry, and they grow on the west side of the bog. That's where they like to grow. And there's no shortage of elderberry bushes. I have to beat the birds to them, the wild birds, and the bear. So every once in a while, every 3 or 4 years, there'll be a lot of elderberries, and I'm able to get them before the wild critters do, and then I juice them. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you have some. There was a lot of comments, folks. Off-grid Amy 717. I really enjoy her channel, folks. So if you go and you check her out, she's being Amy, and she's kind of fun to watch, and you learn something too, right? So Amy, thank you. You can tell your son that I charge up my walkie-talkies and my cell phone with the Jackery, but anytime I get in my vehicle, I think it was Backwoods Hermit. He's another good channel, folks. You really ought to check him out. I think he's one that said in one of his videos that anytime he gets in his vehicle to go somewhere, his cell phone is plugged in. But no, I think it's a 400 watt Jackery, and I charge that with my generator. The generator I have, I don't know what it is, folks. It's not a big one, but it's big enough if I ever wanted to run a power tool to build something here, it'll handle anything that I want to use here anyway. But I am finding that since I learned to use a chainsaw, I've got two now. I've got two chainsaws, right? That still boggles my mind. But I just find if I'm building something, a trellis or whatnot, a chainsaw works. It's really quick, folks. Just buzz it off, and if I'm building something, chainsaw works fantastic. If it's out in the yard and whatnot, I wouldn't want to finish my home with a chainsaw, but I've seen some camps that were done with a chainsaw, solely with a chainsaw. So you can tell your son that, Amy. And as for living the way that I do without running water and electric, solar, anything like that, that is by choice. It is by choice. Now, Amy, I do have a well. It is not, and I have a gray water system that'll hold 25 gallons of gray water that has never been used. The piping isn't even, I've got everything to do it with, but it's not hooked up. And I figure when I'm old and decrepit or just can't live this way anymore, I have everything that I should need here to pipe into that gray water system. And I've got a kitchen counter, sideboard, that's what we call them up here. And there is a sink in it. It's not hooked up to anything. It's just sitting in the hole that was cut, right? A 5-gallon bucket underneath the sink, because it's plumbed up underneath the sink, so it's got a drain. And then there's that short pipe, right? There's a short pipe that comes down. I just used a 5-gallon bucket under there. So it's still snowing. The main road, the hot top out there, I guess, is pretty slippery, pretty slick. So I just got done emptying all the birds' water. It stayed thawed all day, but it got dirty because they're ducks and geese. So all that water was dumped out. The pails are rinsed out. And I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me move you. Can you see? Now the light's in the way. The rain catchment system is a lot of it thawed today. So, whoops, I can unlight. I'll shut that right off. And so I was able to fill up 6, and not all of it thawed, but enough so I could take a bucket and push the ice down. And of course the water would come up because ice floats, right? And I was able to fill 6 of their water pails up, and they're on my porch right now. I'll bring them in so they don't freeze tonight. And I've got, let's see, 7. I've probably got 12 gallons in the house right now for them as well tomorrow. Ducks and geese, they're awful nice to have, but they need fresh water, and they use up a lot of it, and winters are especially rough. So in my kitchen, out of the way, that's where I've got my pails lined up, my buckets lined up, all of that. So they're out of my way. They're staying pretty warm in there, and they're certainly inside the house. It's about 95 in there right now. Not going to freeze, so that's all good. I read some of your comments. I did a video earlier, a real short video, answering some of your questions. The person that asked about the elderberry bushes, I think your name was Emma. I answered your question in that video along with Off-Grid Amy 717. I mentioned the Backwoods Hermit, and now I'm going to mention Cedar Rock Cabin. You've been with me for quite a while on this channel, and I really appreciate that. You've got a lot of common sense. I know you used to put out videos. I don't know if you stopped putting out videos, because I know it's some days it's a real struggle to put out videos. But you used to put out videos, and I haven't seen any for a while. I kind of miss your videos, but I also get it. But you and Backwoods Hermit made a comment not too long ago on that last video about homesteaders showing cute prancing goats working in the garden with a cup of coffee. That gave me the biggest chuckle, because I'm right along with you, folks. I am right along with you with videos that, and I've done a whole long video on this not too long ago about the false representation of what real homesteading is all about. They don't show a lot of the reality, and if you're drinking coffee while you're in your garden or tending to your birds or out in the barn with your goats, or out in the pasture with your goats, I know what flies around in the air on a homestead, folks. Everything I drink out of here has a cover on it. It does. When the geese flap their wings, everything goes flying everywhere, and it flies high and it flies out. When the wind comes up here and when the birds are molting, there are feather, what do they call them, dervishes? Those little mini cyclones. It's all it is feathers. The first time a friend of mine was here, and it was a windy day, and it was during the molt, so there was a lot of feathers here. The wind come up just right in between these buildings, and it created a wind dervish, and they thought that was the coolest thing. I said, yeah, that's why you don't have an open container of anything in the yard, because you're going to get stuff in it. But if you ask a lot of people, that's what keeps you healthy, right? It's all the dirt and germs going in what you eat and drink and breathe. Some people think that makes you healthy. I kind of tend to think it doesn't hurt as bad as it sounds gross, right? You just got to be careful. I wouldn't want to reach down and grab a frozen lump of goose poop and char on that like I would a ice cube. I wouldn't want to do that, but I think people that homestead tend to be healthier, because I think they do get the germs and the dirt and all that stuff that they breathe in, and they get a lot of fresh air and a lot of exercise. And if they're eating what they are growing, and then they're eating pretty healthy, even if they eat junk as well, right? So I don't think homesteading is all that bad. I wouldn't want to roll on the ground here when I free range my birds. I wouldn't want to drop something. If I drop something on the ground, pick it up and eat it. There's no such thing as a 5-second rule on a homestead, folks. There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. And I don't walk barefoot. I don't walk barefoot. And I know that's really good. You're grounding yourself. Your bottom of your feet are connecting to the ground's energy and all of that. I understand that. But if you live on a homestead and you free range, unless you have a foot scrubber, not many people are going to go around barefoot. Flip-flops and sandals I have seen. I wear those they call rubber clogs, I guess. I've fallen right in love with those, folks. Rubber boots here, anything that I could put right in water and rinse off, right? Sit out in the sun to dry, sit out in the wind to dry, but barefoot's not where it's at with me at all. At the end of the day, for me, folks, I am going to go in, take my boots off, put them by the stove, the wood stove, let them dry out because I sweat in them because they're winter boots, and it was about 30 degrees today. So not really cold. So enough to get your feet when you move in really warm. I will wash up, get into my jammies, and sit and watch the fire in the wood stove and probably fall asleep. So you all have a good night, and thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Bye.